Okay, this topic is on melody. Now, melody is a word that is very common. We use it a lot in our language. Young children usually have heard that term before. The problem is we don't know how to define it. What is a melody? If you go up to any person on the street and say, hey, what's the definition of melody? And they're probably going to sit there and stammer and hem and haw and not know what to say because it's really hard to define the melody. So melody, according to our book, is a sequence of pitches and silences that create something interesting or something like that. And that's kind of a crazy definition, but it is. It's just a bunch of notes, rhythms together to create something interesting. Now, for children, that's kind of a really fuzzy idea of a definition. And the funny thing is, if you look at a book that's intended to be used for one of these types of classes, you'll see a chapter that's about teaching melody, and they'll define the term melody at the beginning of the chapter, and then they don't say the word hardly at all the rest of the chapter because they teach about melody by teaching you all of the other terms like intervals and sequences and pitch and all those things which are part of melody. But it's really hard to teach melody without teaching all these other concepts at the same time. Now, some of the things that we can practice and do as we are training students about melody is just teaching them about pitch. And so expanding some of the things we described in the pitch lesson is what we're going to be using for melody. Now, the interval terms that we talked about also are very important because you've got to use intervals and introduce intervals as you create melody. So the first thing I would do is do some listening exercises, and I'm going to get my recorder out here, and I'm going to play 3 pitches, and I want you to tell me if I'm playing the same pitches, if I'm playing pitches by step, so are they moving by step or intervals of a second, or are they moving by leap? Are they jumping from a lower interval to a higher interval? Okay, so we'll start out here. Here's 3 pitches. So what did I do? Was it a repeated note, stepwise motion, or was that by leap? And obviously you probably can tell that my fingers didn't move, so I was playing some repeated notes. They were all the same pitch. And so a recorder can be good and bad because the students can see what you're doing, but if they don't know the fingerings too well, then they don't really know beyond the repeated note. So now I'm going to play something else, and let's see if you can distinguish this. So did I play repeated notes, notes that move by step, or notes that move by leap? Again, that was notes that move by step, and I tried to use some fingering combinations that make that not so obvious. But hopefully you can hear that those are stepwise motion. Do, re, mi, they're all close together, okay? Now I'm going to play some notes, and obviously this is the 3rd one, so I'll probably do some leaps. But here's an example of some leaps. And the last one was actually a step because I did the wrong fingering. Let's try that again. So there's some leaps, and you notice that there's a lot of pitch in between that we're leaving out. So practice that. Do some examples with your singing. Do, 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 repeated. Fa, 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 repeated again. Do, fa, do. There's some by leap. I'm moving a 4th from do to fa. Do, mi, so, mi, do. There's some more leaps, 3rds. Or do, re, mi, fa, so. Some stepwise motion. So have the students practice that, sing to them, have them sing back to you. If they're learning recorders, have them practice some of those stepwise things back and forth and get them practicing that. Okay, another thing that I want to talk about is melodic contour. And contour is the shape of the melody. And obviously this is going to involve several pitches instead of just maybe two, because if you just have an interval, you can't really say that it has contour. Even though it is moving, it doesn't have enough of a shape to create a pattern. So contour in melody is very important, and we help the students understand this by singing songs and things. And a lot of times we'll listen to a melody, maybe you can sing a song to your students and have them follow the shape of the melody with your hand. And start out obviously with simple songs, and I would do some just showing them how. So I would put my hand up and I'd say, okay, you follow my hand. You go up and down with my hand as I sing this song. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. And they can follow your hand and see that there's shape, there's motion between those pitches. So the beginning of that song, Mary had, we have a downward contour, and then an upward contour, and then some repeated notes. And so they could actually go to the chalkboard and say, okay, we're starting here and we're going down, Mary had, and then back up, a little lamb. So we're static a little bit, down, little lamb, and then we go up, and then drop clear down. So here would be a contour of Mary Had a Little Lamb. And obviously I'm kind of following every pitch, and I could make that even more simplistic, but those types of things are really helpful for them to understand how melody works. And when I define melody, I usually just say it's the tune. It's the main part of the music. It's what we focus on. And in young children's music classes, that's about all we do, especially for the first couple of years, is just melody. They sing melodies, we listen to melodies, and obviously when we're listening we can add the harmony part, but we pay attention to melodies. Our society is very melody driven, and children tend to pick up on melodies very easily. If they hear a simple folk song that might have an accompaniment or a harmony part, they'll be able to sing you the melody, but if you say, hey, sing me the harmony part, they'll be like, what are you talking about? So obviously melody is the focus of the music, and as you go through months and years of teaching children, they start to understand the functions of melody, but also how important harmony is in making music interesting. But melody alone is also just fine for young children. They appreciate that.